Hello boys and girls, and welcome back to yet another Vise project. This is like the cutest little vise. It's an Athol 613, and it says either B-6 or 8-6, I'm not sure yet. And it says the Athol M and F for Machine and Foundry Company, Athol Mass, made in USA. The jaws on this vise are right at 3 inches wide, and it opens up about 4 inches probably. The gentleman I bought it from said it was his uncle's, and his uncle made these little brass soft jaw insert pads. These are pretty cool. They just slide over the dynamic jaw. They slide over the bar, you know, they're notched. And that's handy. I like that. This vise looks to be in pretty good shape. The handle's straight, which is rare. The jaws even have some teeth left to them, which is also unusual for the vices I usually find. See if I can... Ooh, oh. So there's still some life left in the teeth, which is pretty cool. And this vise only weighs like 22 pounds. So my plan for this is simply to clean it up and repaint it. That's about all this vise needs. It's in good shape, so I'm just going to strip the flaking old paint off. I will wire wheel the rusty bits, strip off the old grease, put on some fresh grease, oil some things, and I think I want to repaint this. But once I get it apart, depending on, you know, if it looks nice, if the casting is nice and smooth and it looks good raw, then maybe I'll leave it raw. I'm not sure. So stick around and yeah, stick around. Okay, I finished wire wheeling, and I got all the rust and loose paint off that I was motivated enough to tackle. And it looks to me like from the factory they probably put some kind of like a filler in a couple of spots. There's a couple of places where the casting's a little rough, and once I got into it with the wire wheel, I could, it was smooth when I started. By the time I got done, there were some rough spots that I think were smoothed with some fill. That's okay. So now what I want to do is I've just got some painter's tape, and I'm going to mask off the parts on this that I don't want paint on, and I'm going to go paint it. So I won't bore you guys with taping. But what I'm going to do is there's a couple of little pads, like, let's see if I can show you these. So here and here, again, this could be difficult. Okay, see how these here, they shine? This is a ground surface that the bottom of the dynamic jaw slides on. There's 2 long pads here, 2 short pads here, and in the back, 2 short pads. So I'm going to tape those off. I will tape the jaws off. I'll tape the jaws off, and a couple other things maybe. And and you don't want to paint this this rectangular slide. This has to fit through the body, and if you put a bunch of paint on here, sometimes it'll bind. So you don't actually want to paint these. A lot of times you'll see paint on here. You don't want it there. So that's what this wide tape is going to be used for. I'll tape this off. So I will bring you guys back once all the taping is done. So underneath this static jaw, where this where my finger is right here, the casting's pretty rough. I'm not sure, it almost looks like when they cast it, some of the sand came out, so there was a void that was filled with molten cast iron or malleable iron, whatever this is. And so it's pretty boogery. That's a technical term. And so I'm just I've got a half round file here, and I'm just cleaning it up a little bit because I realize that it's in an almost invisible spot, but it's not pretty, and I want it to be pretty. So, alright. These are all masked off, and I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum matte hammered spray paint. I've not tried this before on a Vise, but I did buy this can yesterday, and I tried it out on a big C-clamp that I have, and I actually really liked it. So I figured, let's try it on this. What I'll do is I will let this sit out here for about an hour, and then I will flip this over so I can get the front. Oh hell. There. Not really worried about the bottom. Nobody sees that. Missed the spot. All right, now that that's done, like I said, I'll give that an hour and I'll check it and see how it looks. It's pretty buggy today, so hopefully I don't have too many bugs stuck in the paint. Oh well. All right, so while the paint is drying on the vise, I'm going to clean up these small parts here. I've got that spring, a couple of washers, the pin, and of course the main screw nut. So I've just got a wire wheel here, and let's go to town. All right, there they are. And now we just have to wait for the paint to cure. Oh wait. I forgot about the lead screw here. We've got some degreaser in the threads, and I'm just kind of trying to run it through this paper towel to clean it up a little bit. So I want to wire wheel the handle on this to kind of polish it up a little bit, make it look nice. Okay, today is tomorrow. The paint has had about a little over 24 hours to do its thing. So what do you say we unmask this little guy? Okay, that is it for the masking tape. And you know, I wasn't sure how this stuff was going to turn out, and that's the matte hammered, and this is black. It looks really good. I like it. I wasn't sure. I usually go for the like oil-based enamel paint. Like that's the stuff I've got on the bench here. I've done a couple of other vices with that paint, and it's a pretty hard wearing paint, and it looks good. But I don't know. I wanted to give this a try. I'm actually really happy with that. So while the paint on that was drying, I finished cleaning up the handle, the lead screw, and the hardware, and the nut here. So let's get this installed. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now, oh, what did I do with that? So the cotter pin that holds this stuff in on the screw here, there's a washer, a spring, and another washer, and then this cotter pin goes in there. That cotter pin broke when I was taking it out, but it's still in there enough that, or it still sticks in there enough that I may be able to use it at least for, you know, test fitting. I will have to replace this cotter pin. I don't have one that small. So there's a small window here, and so I'm going to stick the lead screw in and then get the washer on there. And then the spring. And now the other washer. This is tight quarters in there. I'd like to be the guy that assembles these at the factory all day long. Come on. Ooh, there. Looks like I missed some grease. So now, what I need to do, whoa, just not drop that, is I need to, lighting isn't great, but I need to compress this washer, or well, I need to compress the spring by pushing this washer down and then getting that cotter pin back in there. And at this point, I think I'm going to stop. I'm not going to bother trying to put that broken cotter pin in there, just to have to take it apart to put the good cotter pin that I don't have yet in there, because I can tell this is going to be a pain right in the neck. Okay, here's what we got going on. I have the small, tiny little broken cotter pin that came out, and I've got a new replacement cotter pin, and this has to go through this hole here in the handle, and there's a couple of washers and a spring in here. So what I need to do is compress the spring, and so the washer will be on the handle side of the hole, and then slip this pin down through that. And in order to facilitate that, I've got it clamped in this other large vise, just so this doesn't really move around on me. So, I'm not sure what my plan of attack here is going to be. Okay, so here's what I'm working with. Here's that washer, spring, and there's another washer here, and that is what holds the handle here into the sliding jaw. So as you reverse the screw, it pushes the jaw out. What I have to do is get this pin in that hole, but I got to get this you got to compress this spring and get this washer here on this side of that hole. So this is like, again, one of those four-handed jobs. I'm going to try to do it without stabbing myself with a screwdriver. Let me move the camera out of my way and think for a minute. Okay, so using these two pin punches, I tried to jam them in here on either side of the washer and pull that spring back, and I was able to do that enough that I got the very tip of the cotter pin in the hole, but it's not enough to get it all the way through, not even all the way in, let alone all the way through. So at this point, it's all just a bit sketchy here. I'm starting to regret taking that cotter pin out, because this is going to be a pain, like a serious pain, getting it back in there. Alright, I'm going to shut the camera off and work on this because this is going to take me a while. And once I figure it out, I'll just tell you guys how I did it. Alright, let me show you guys, or try to show you guys how I did this. So I took the pin punch and I laid it in next to the screw, and I was able to slide it all the way up to here. And then I used the brush to push on the end of the pin punch, and that was able to compress the spring in a way that it was straight enough that I could get the pin started. And once I got it started, I just used a little ball peen hammer to tap it home, and I had to kind of I had to shorten the pin also. So these replacement pins that I got, they're the right diameter, but they're too long. So I got it in there and I was like, sweet. And then I went to turn the handle, and because the pin was so long, it actually got caught inside the channel here, so it wouldn't rotate. So I had to take the pin out and do it over again. I got a little greasy, I got a little boo-boo, and I broke a nail. So all in all, it's pretty rough, you guys. I don't want to talk about it. So I want to give a shout out to my other Vises for coming in clutch. This one in particular is actually another Athol Vise. You guys probably will not be able to see that. But that does say Athol Manufacturing and Foundry Company, Athol, Mass, USA. This monster is a 644.5. So for reference, this has 4.5 inch jaws, whereas the dainty little 613 is a 3-inch jaw. These are two totally different classes of vise. I mean, this thing versus this thing. I will be doing a restoration on the big one here, so if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe. So let's get this out of here for now. This one's cool. It has a swivel base and a swivel jaw, so stick around for that. Just put this away. Just tuck in my hernia. All right. Okay. So, now that the handle's installed, we can put this back together. I'm going to do a little bit of red and tacky grease here for the nut. And just a little leftover here on these little pads. There. And like most of the vices that I find neglected, this one has very little like useful lubrication left on it. So as I tighten the handle here, there's like some friction and like it like judders because the face of this little round pommel thing bears against the face. There's a machined face on this, and it's dry. There's no lubrication there, so it's just metal on metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little drop of, it's 5W30 in my little oiler here. Put a couple of little drops in like that, and already as that works its way through, it is considerably smoother. I'm also going to oil this face right on the inside where that one washer rides on the inside of the spring. So now that is much smoother. And if I decide that it's not smooth enough, I can put another drop of grease in there, or oil. And there you have it. So that is the Athol 613. It's a cute little thing. Like I said, this weighs like 21, 22, 23 pounds. And it's got a 3-inch jaw, 6-inch like throat. And it's interesting because I thought this was the letter B. I thought it said B-6 or B-5. I think it's 3. It's probably the number 3, which I assume is the jaw width, and then the 6 is the throat. So I don't know if they do that on all these Athol vices, or so you could, okay, so you know, just looking at it, it's a 3-inch jaw, 6-inch throat. So anyway, I think I'm going to keep this one. I originally was going to sell it, but it's actually a really nice shape. It looks really nice with that paint on it, and so this is going to be in the collection for a while. And the reality is, I bought it at a price that was a little bit steep, maybe a little more than I should have paid. Well, more than I should have paid if I wanted to make money selling it. I think I paid a fair price for it, which means if I were to try to sell it, I'd have to jack the price way up. I'd have to ask like $100 for it, and then negotiate down to maybe $80. I don't know if I wanted to make any money on this, but it's not about making money. I mean, I have made money on vices that I've restored, but it's mostly just about finding something that is better than anything you can buy today, that is just rotting away someplace, and bringing it back to life and putting it back into service for another lifetime. So I'm pretty happy with this. Like I said, this is probably going to be in the collection for a little while. trying to figure out where I'm going to put it. I'd like to use it maybe on my other bench in the garage here behind me. I want a big vise here on this bench so I can clamp. I mean, I needed I needed a vise to hold my vise for this project, and I don't have one mounted to this bench yet, so I got to figure that out. But anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. Until next time, guys. Ooh, I put my brass jaws in there. Brass jaws are probably even cooler than brass knuckles. Although, it would have been nice to have had some brass knuckles earlier. Yeah. These are pretty cool. These came with it. These are worth 20 bucks themselves, just because, you know, the 1/8 inch brass. Pretty cool. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.